Yesterday, we told you about a proposed diversity, equity, and inclusion bill that would ban DEI offices and positions at Idaho public universities. The legislation comes almost a month after the State Board of Education passed a resolution doing about the same thing. So Boise State, Idaho State, and the University of Idaho, they've all already closed their DEI offices to align with that resolution from the State Board, which passed back in December. The Women's Center at the University of Idaho is just one of 6 DEI centers that closed, and today the center celebrated the 5 decades that they've been a resource for students and staff. And Aspen, you have been covering this from the start. I was surprised to learn it had been open for 50 years.
I have, and they gave a formal goodbye to the center today. Lisa Salisbury has been the director for over 10 years there. She says she is deeply grieving from the closure of that center. It was one of the longest standing women's centers in the country, a 52-year fixture of student life. She says it's been hard to come to terms with the state not accepting DEI resources, but she wasn't shocked to hear this was the direction the state was going. With the closure of the center, she says this doesn't mean students will not have support, and that she's dedicated to figuring out how to continue getting them support.
I think this place has always been a place of connection. And I see that legacy happening, you know, the legacy of the center moving out into the community and the rest of campus. That support and connection is not going to go away. We're still going to be there for students, staff, and faculty. It's going to look different. We're going to be doing it in different places around campus because obviously we won't have a central space anymore. But the work is important and it needs to be done.
Even though today was an emotional end of an era for the Women's Center, Salisbury says it was heartwarming to see the amount of people who showed up today to give it a send-off and hear the stories about the impact the Women's Center has had on people's life. Salisbury said even people showed up today who were involved in the early days of the center. Joe, coming up on the news at 6, we're going to hear some of those stories and hear from people who were there in the earliest days. I think it's also important to watch this and see what the effect is going to be maybe at the end of this semester to see if students felt like they got that support that they once had.
Because we've heard 2 very different stories. We've heard from people that say centers like this, you know, they're not needed and they really just cause problems.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, as you saw the emotion from the Women's Center, we've heard about, you know, decades of hard work. I appreciate what you say right there. It's going to be interesting to see maybe at the end of this school year what the void looks like without this center. But we do know that some of the universities are thinking of putting in different types of offices to kind of replace them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, different support centers. I think the State Board really wanted to focus on more of a holistic approach centered around all students is what we've heard from them. So we'll have to check back in and see what that impact is.
Time will tell. All right, Aspen Shumpert on the 208. We'll see you back at 6.